My bill C-289 will target criminals who target rural Canadians.
My Conservative colleagues and I are standing up for the people of Alberta by fighting Bill C-10 and defending free speech. Why? Because your voice matters.
I have and will continue to pressure this Liberal government to end violence against women and girls here in Alberta and across the country.
I presented a motion to promote the oil and gas sector and to affirm the House of Commons support for our energy workers.
This past year, I called for emergency debates in the House of Commons, both when the Keystone XL pipeline was on the chopping block and again when Enbridge Line 5 was set to be closed.
I introduced a bill in Parliament to improve our environment and grow our energy sector. Carbon capture, utilization, and storage is a technological advance in which we lead the world.
At the Natural Resources Committee, we learned that the Liberals' new carbon capture tax credit will not apply to enhanced oil recovery projects.
Fairness for our energy sector, Alberta. That's what our Conservative team is fighting for on your behalf every single day.
Fighting for our oil and gas sector and Alberta jobs by championing motions and bills that fight for our energy sector.
I was proud to stand up for the families of the victims of PS 752.
I introduced the Stop Internet Sexual Exploitation Act, or the SEAS Act, to hold companies like Pornhub accountable. We will end sexual exploitation.
Living in rural Alberta, when it comes to internet, we are underserviced and overcharged. One factor is internet service providers are buying up spectrum licenses, then not putting the spectrum to use. I've been advocating for a use it or lose it clause in the spectrum contract to force providers to use the spectrum they purchase. Recently, I was pleased to hear that the minister listened and the 2021 spectrum auction will include a use it or lose it clause.
I stood up in the House and demanded that this government treat Edmonton fairly and give us our proportionate share of the Rapid Housing Fund.
Small businesses want their customers back, so we're demanding a federal plan for a safe, permanent reopening.
My focus is on ensuring Canadians remain safe in our communities.
Conservatives are fighting against Bill C-21, which targets law-abiding Canadian firearms owners, collectors, sport shooters, and hunters.
I've been fighting against the Liberal government's recent decision to designate all plastic manufactured items as toxic, a decision that is anti-science, absurd, and threatens thousands of jobs.
Every day my constituents struggle with the structural inequities in Confederation that disadvantage Albertans. And that's why I sponsored a petition and tabled it that called upon the government to allow Alberta to take any and all measures deemed necessary to further its rightful autonomy and advance the interests of Albertans.
I stand up for weekly newspapers in my riding because they are important.
So thank you to the thousands of people who took time to answer this survey and many others like it.
Each and every day we are fighting to make sure that Albertans are heard in Ottawa.
Canada's Conservatives have been hard at work standing up for Albertans and Western Canadians. With growing Western alienation, there's still so much work to do. Canadians across the country have been left behind by the Liberals and the other parties on the left. It's time to get Alberta's economy back on track. Together, we can secure the future. It's time to get back to work.